Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube Astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about astrology and the Will Smith Chris Rock feud, and basically their confrontation, or you could say a little altercation they had. I want to just talk about, well, firstly, just basically cue those in that may not know about this. That What happened was at the Oscars last night there was altercation between Will Smith and Chris Rock. Some speculate that it was a hoax or it was staged. My own opinion on it, I think it was very real. I think there's some people that just wanted to believe that it wasn't real and that it was staged. But I do believe it was real. It looked very real to me. And they're already trying to review. The Academy is trying to review, the situation and the actions of Will Smith. And there's a possibility. My understanding is that they may relinquish or have him, I guess you could say, revoke or the Oscar basically. Um, Thing is, what happened was is that um, Chris Rock made a joke regarding Will Smith's his wife's appearance with her head, because her head, is shaved, or she just had lost. What happened was, my understanding is that she had lost a lot of her hair. It's attributed to a disease, and Chris Rock made a joke, something. I don't know if he said this exactly, but something close to, you're going to star in, the Jada, Joe 2 or something, GI Jada 2, making a reference to her hair, her hair, or the hair that's not there, I should say, the lack of hair. And Will Smith, obviously, he was rebuffed by this. He was agitated, I guess, because Chris Rock, and by his perception that Chris Rock showed insensitivity with the remark, and Will Smith had walked up to Chris Rock and slapped him. And the thing is, it's unknown. I mean, to me at least, whether Chris Rock was cognizant of this or not, whether he actually knew that Will Smith's wife had a disease that caused the hair regression and loss, or whether he knew that or not. And I mean, if he didn't know, I can understand he may be just making an off-the-cuff remark, and it's seen as like celebrity roasting. But if he had actually known and made this remark, that could be, seen as very inflammatory, of course. And those are things that are going to, should be uncovered. And the thing is, I do believe this was very real. And what I'm going to mainly focus on in this segment, though, is I'm going to look at talk about the feud, astrologically, what is playing a role. So I'm going to look at, focus a lot on Will Smith's chart and talk a little bit about Chris Rock's and Will Smith's wife. And we're going to go there. And anyway, well, the thing is, as far as Will Smith's chart, just his basic chart, I'm going to talk about first. And his general temperament. Looking at his chart, what's interesting is that Will Smith actually has the Sun in Libra, which is, the basic character is actually very, peaceful and tranquil, and likes to have things balanced and refined, but he has Uranus conjuncted, so it gives a little more unpredictability to his basic character. And he has, interestingly enough, he has the moon in Scorpio, which is such a contrast from his, the more conscious side, which is the sun. Having the moon in Scorpio, I mean, the moon, on an unconscious level, he could actually be, a little bit more vengeful and a little bit easier provoked than the typical sun in Libra. And the moon in, Scorpio, they want to be, the need is for power and control. And also, the moon in Scorpio can have inordinate willpower and, very, very much stronger, side to him than the sun in Libra. I'm not saying sun in Libra is weak, what the moon in Scorpio can really be. That's a very, even though it's in its stability, the moon in Scorpio, of course, is in its fall by placement, but the moon in Scorpio can have, very great strength of character and a lot of willpower, and no pun intended with his name being Will Smith, of course, right? But anyway, and emotions can be very intense and convoluted for a moon in Scorpio, and he has Neptune conjunct his moon, so that could make the emotions even a little bit more chaotic. And he also has the black moon Lilith conjunct his Gemini ascendant. And Gemini ascendant by itself can be, of course, excitable and high-strung. Gemini they can't control their temperament. That is excitable, and I would say especially with Gemini ascendant, because of course that's ascendant meaning dominant. That's the part that is most easily expressed, of course, in the horoscope, and it does come out very strongly. And of course, it's the first impression. And it's interesting when Chris Rock had made his comment about, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, Jada Smith, Will Smith's wife, but anyway. And Will Smith had appeared to laugh it off initially. He was kind of smiling, like he was chuckling. Then, shortly after that, he just walked up to, Chris Rock and gave him a good slap. It was almost like looking at, having a Gemini ascendant. The swing can be extreme for Gemini rising. It's like that pull of the opposites. But on Gemini rising, of course, could be very mercurial, to say the least, and unpredictable. And just looking at this chart, it's interesting too that Will Smith was actually in that role, Gemini man, and he's really Gemini rising man. So I thought it's again, it's astrology having its robust sense of humor, I guess. And the thing too is, in looking at some of an aspect in Will Smith's chart, which is interesting, is the fact that he has his moon in Scorpio is in conjunct Saturn in Aries, and in the 12th house of film. You could say it has a connection with film and theater, the 12th house. And in conjunction astrology, it can often require adjustments. It can be too much or too little of something. And the fact is, the Saturn is about the career, Moon is about the home life. So it tells me that there might be some, too much emphasis on the career, or too much on the home life. Maybe what's happening is there's also some speculation that this incident with Will Smith is stating that there might be some turmoil in maybe his personal life, or even in his marriage at this point. And the fact that you have natally your Saturn in conjunct the Moon, in some cases this could indicate too much emphasis on the career, or vice versa. Maybe what's happened is there might be too much of an emphasis on his career, and the thing is, and then maybe not enough on the home. Maybe there's some crisis at, being the Moon in Scorpio, maybe there's some crisis at home that needs to be done. Maybe the fact it's in the 6th house indicates maybe that has to be more in the daily, incorporated in the daily routine more. And also, I thought interesting is that having the Saturn in Aries in the 12th house. I mean, I have Saturn in my 12th house. I'm very, you could say I'm even reclusive. And Will Smith also has preponderance of planets on the bottom half of his chart, and it tells me that he's a lot more introverted than the typical actor. Saturn in the 12th by itself can be very introverted and introspective, and majority of Will Smith's planets, they actually fall in that second quadrant. The second quadrant consists of houses 4, 5, and 6, and it shows that there's a lot of emphasis on his home, his family in general, his entertainment, his work life, his employment. He's got 4 planets in the 5th house of movies and entertainment, so there's obviously such a strong focus on that. His sun is in Libra, and Libra is connected with acting and the arts, so it's no shocker there. The thing too is, looking at this, I also see There's a transit that Will Smith is having that's significant. I would say the transit Sun is conjoining his North Node. And what's happening is that the Sun is about our identity and ego, and so Aries is about aggression and combat. It tells me that there's also, the North Node, can be, when it's involved in transit, can be about issues one may have to address and confront. And in this particular case, it might be matters of ego and acting out in a volatile manner in the process. But at the same time, on the positive end, this could be an indicator of him getting that award. If I'm not mistaken, this was the first time he ever won an Oscar. I guess he must have been nominated numerous times. I thought he had won an Oscar previously, at least one Oscar previously. I may be mistaken. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway. And another thing is that I'm going to get some other transits that he's getting right now. He also has transit Chiron, which is not far from his natal North Node. And that can be about, Chiron is about emotional and physical wounds. It can be suffering due to impulsive actions, violent acts. In this case, slapping Chris Rock. And what's interesting with Chris Rock is that right now he has the transit of Chiron not far from his ascendant. And even though I don't believe it's conjunct to his ascendant right now, it's still not far away. And Chiron can manifest in physical related wounds, and Aries is associated with the face. So it's interesting that he did get hit, he did get slapped in the face at the time of this transit. And the thing is with Chris Rock having a Sun in Aquarius and then Aries ascendant. It's a very, he's a person that I believe he also has the Moon in Aries, so he's very much about freedom and independence and wanting to do what he wants when he wants to do it. The Sun in Aquarius, the basic character, is one, of course, which could be very non-conforming, rebellious, eccentric, and unpredictable, very spontaneous. And this is something, obviously he has, that general nature in him. I believe also the transit Mars is not far from Chris Rock's natal Sun, and Mars can be about physical injury, and it's also connected with the head and the skull, and I would say the face as well. And Aquarius is unpredictable. And having the Aries ascendant, that flavors his Aquarius energy. That being, Aquarius again can be very unpredictable, and Aries is Aries rising outwardly is very outspoken. So that unpredictability is flavored with that outspokenness of Aries, and sometimes maybe that can cause some issues for Chris Rock. And to his credit, I will say, I know the remark may not have been appropriate that he made about Will Smith's wife, but after he got slapped by Will Smith, he maintained his composure and carried on very professionally. He said something like, "Wow, this was the greatest moment in the history of television," or something, and which is funny because being jocular is his namesake because he is a comedian. But to his credit, he did walk away in his own way. He didn't escalate the situation. Some other people may have. He certainly didn't, and I really don't believe he intended to do what he, as far as really antagonizing Will Smith. I don't believe that was the intention, but that is my own belief on it. I don't think it was really that malicious. Again, he may not have known about his wife's condition. And what I want to get to is a thing, though, that stood out to me was something with the Synastry with Chris Rock and Will Smith's wife, is that Chris Rock's his Mars is conjoining her sun and conjoins her sun in Virgo, and Mars could be about attack and assault, and I would say it could include verbal assaults as well. And Virgo, of course, could be very critical and judgmental and cynical. And the thing about it is, he had in having the sun in Virgo, and sun can be has a connection with the physical body, so it can have a connection with the appearance as well. And the thing is, this is something where there's the connection right there with the, you could say, the verbal assault on her, her appearance, her physically, um, what she, what she looks like to some degree. She has a different ascendant. Her ascendant is in Sagittarius, so that's, obviously that dominates the appearance. And sadly, Sagittarius can have an inclination for balding. And also, in Will Smith, his wife, I guess is Jada, her name. Saturn, her Saturn opposes her ascendant, and Saturn in astrology rules the hair. It has a connection with the hair and is opposing the ascendant, so it's going away from the physical body. I believe that could be an indicator of the hair loss, possibly. There may have been some transits she may have received in the past, but I'm not. That might have played a role. It might be attributed to that as well, but I'm not aware of those. And also too, in fact, you have Will Smith's wife also has transit Neptune. It's making an opposition to her natal sun in Virgo. And the sun in Virgo, the sun is about what we want. And we want, the sun in Virgo may want perfection. She may want perfection in how she appears. And what it is the fact that, Neptune, is, being far away. It makes it, opposing the sun. It makes it difficult to grasp that ideal. I mean, Neptune is idealism, so I would say being able to grasp that Neptune, the ideal look, or just wanting to be, just in general to have perfection in the life. And she might be at this time, with Neptune, opposing the sun in Virgo. It tells me too that, sun is about what we want. It might be difficult and wanting to have some rest, to be lethargic, to relax. It might be a time where she might be having difficulty doing that. In a situation like this, certainly doesn't help matters at all. And the thing about this too is with just the situation in general, I noticed too with the charts that Chris Rock, his Mars in Virgo, is actually conjoins Will Smith's Pluto, and it shows that the actions, the attack of what is perceived as an attack from Chris Rock could cause strong retaliation. Pluto's connected with vengeance, and it's just something where, this was an unfortunate incident that went down. It could just be a misunderstanding. When I say misunderstanding, I understand what was stated from Chris Rock. There was nothing ambiguous or cryptic about it. Transit Mercury is in direct Aries. People are not mincing words when they're communicating. But at the same time, when I say misunderstanding, is that he may not have known about the condition that Will Smith's wife has. And it's a situation, I'm sure we'll hear more about this as the days progress, and what Chris Rock actually knew or not about Will Smith's wife. And this was something, when I saw this, was very shocking. I could not believe that this had actually transpired, but I do believe it did, and I do think that this was real. If the Academy, whatever it is, the Oscars, if they strip Will Smith's Oscar, we're going to know this was legitimate, I would say. because something like that, if something like this was staged, then you're not going to have your Oscar removed from you, if that makes any sense. So I think for that we'll know that this was actually real, and that'll be clarified by actions that take place in the near future. And I think what we have to keep in mind too, from a non-astrological perspective and vantage point, is that there's nobody infallible. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Will Smith might be going through some other, personal crisis, or there might be some turmoil in his life that we don't know about. His wife may have been the subject to derisive remarks about her condition for some time, and it's just we all have a need to be more sensitive regarding these matters. And the thing about it is too, and something like this, seeing this situation in the incident with Will Smith and Chris Rock, what I learned from this is that when I see somebody, if they have, whether it's a balding condition, or maybe somebody's very thin, for another example, to the point where they're consumptive looking, or try to be more sensitive to the appearances of people, because it might be attributed to a disease. It might not be. But for instance, if somebody's very thin, there's a number of reasons it could be. It could be that the person just wants to be thin and they don't eat that much, or that's their way of being healthy in their perception, or it could be a disease. I mean, there is a disease where there's like the bone cancer. There's one where you have the bone deterioration, and you have another muscular disease where you can't build muscle. I don't know if that's muscular dystrophy or multiple sclerosis, but whatever these things are, you have to be more. We have to be more sensitive as a society, because we don't always know why a person may look a certain way. And people might want to make jokes, say, did you swallow a tapeworm recently or something, based on somebody's thin appearance. And the reality is, that could be a person that might have a physical condition that's causing the very slender appearance, as an example. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.